Create a new reality for yourself. 5 principles on how to create a new reality for yourself. I've been experiencing major breakthroughs in my coaching practice with my clients. All of my clients across the board are suddenly getting dramatic results from our work. There's been this shift. It's been very interesting. Results in my own life as well. Very interesting. New understandings coming online. So of course, we have to talk about them. I'm going to share with you 5 principles that encapsulate the difference that this has made. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just 5 things that have really made all the difference. And to start with, do you even believe that you can create a new reality for yourself? Do you believe that you can? Do you believe that you're in control, basically, of how your life unfolds? You should be honest about this with yourself because generally the population, if you're like most people, you don't feel this way. You may pay lip service to, if I really work hard and stick with it, I can change my life. But then when you really drill down into it, there's a sense of no, I don't really have that level of control. And so you need to investigate that bottom belief before we even approach this conversation. Because if your answer is no, then nothing that I say matters. It doesn't make any difference to you. And yet at the same time, if you clicked through and if you're watching through this first, minute, 2 minutes, then it probably means that you believe in the possibility of change. And so we can dive into it from here. So I'm Brent. If we haven't met, I'm a coach, a healer, a counselor in training. I'm taking a psychotherapy degree, and I currently offer core energetics sessions, and the first one is free. And so if you're interested in that, check out the link for that in the description below, and I will take care of you from there. It's good to meet you. Consider hitting like on the video too, if we're getting into something that is of interest to you. You'll see me referencing my notes. So let us dive in. Number 1, not everything needs to be rational. Not everything needs to be explainable. Not everything needs to be rational. Not everything needs to be explainable. So here's the thing. You and I, we're working together to create a new reality for you, one that has more success, more opportunity, more wealth, abundance, happiness, and so forth. And so in order to make the change that we're after, we are going to make an irrational leap. We're going from an old reality into a new one. Once you make this leap and then we look backward on how you made it, then it will be logical and it will make sense and it will even seem inevitable. It'll even seem deterministic. We will look at it and go, oh yeah, of course it unfolded that way. It really couldn't have done otherwise. This is just how it was meant to be. And so really what we're doing in that case is creating a story to justify how you went into this. But make no mistake, from where you are now into the reality that you want to get into, the better one, it's not so obvious. It's not so clear. We're very much in the dark. So that brings us to another point about this, which is that as you envision this new reality that you want to create for yourself, you may not necessarily know how to get into it. Again, you will once you're there and you look backwards, but from here going into it, you don't know. Do not let that unknowing stop you. Do not let the fact that it seems unlikely stop you. Do not let yourself be stopped by the fact that it doesn't make sense. So in other words, if I were to say, okay, imagine this reality where you have money and gold and success and fame and all these things, and here's where you are now, and just imagine stepping into that reality, you would say, okay, that sounds good, but I don't know how. How do I make that change? And I can't really envision it if I can't see a pathway, if I can't see a way to make this happen. So my suggestion for you in this first point that we're making here is that you shouldn't be bothered by that. Don't be bothered by not knowing how. Just because it's not rational and just because you can't yet explain how you get from here to there, let that work itself out. And in the meantime, dive deeply into the imagined space that you want to get into, and then let the path be illuminated as you go, step by step. I want to include in this too, because this is an interesting and very deep principle here when we talk about not everything being rational and explainable, is that there's a lot of deep intuitive knowing that you have and that I have that is not easy to explain. So there's one speaker that I've been following for a long time. His name is Leo Gura, and he has a channel on YouTube called actualized.org. And his most recent editions have been about rationality and meta-rationality. And he has put over the course of a 10-hour sequence of videos, it's 10 hours long, maybe even longer when he's done doing the whole thing, where he talks about how to safely step beyond rationality. It's very difficult to explain this. And yet, you don't necessarily need to be able to explain it. If you have a mystical knowing, if you have an intuitive knowing, if you have a deep, protected knowing about reality and about you and about your power and about what's possible for you in this life, even if you can't explain it, even if you don't have evidence out in your life to draw upon that would support your knowing that you can achieve this, don't let that stop you. Not everything needs to be explainable. Not everything needs to be rational. It's enough for you to know something in a way that isn't necessarily rational, but can nevertheless still be true. Do not let the fact that it's not rational or explainable have that be taken from you. You should still uphold it. You should still give yourself the gift of knowing what you know, especially when it comes to what's possible. All right, good. Number 2, your state dictates your reality, and you can choose your state. So there is a major breakthrough that has happened for me over the year, where if you were to speak to me closer to the beginning of 2025, I was deep in a surrendered state, a surrendered psychology. And I was experimenting with this idea that everything is conspiring on your behalf and everything is flowing towards the actualization of your potential. And your whole job is just to follow your intuition. This is partially true, but only partially. Because if you take this idea to its extreme, this sort of passive, surrendered point of view of like, I'm just going to let God work through me and I'm just going to show up for God moment by moment basis, then you are withdrawing your own personal intention from the equation, and then you run the risk of stagnating in your life. I was unwilling to manage my own state, a state that would create success, because it felt like managing a state was like managing the weather. It's like, what authority do I have to manage the weather? What authority do I have to manage my state? And a little bit more recently, I realized that if it's your desire to create success for yourself, you absolutely can, and it is supported by the universe, but you also need to have a personal intention to create that success. And part of that involves managing your state, being in a psychological, emotional, and physical state that would enable you to create success. So what do I mean? Well, physical state, of course, get enough sleep. Enforce your own will upon your sleep schedule. Get the sleep that you need, get the nutrition that you need, get the hydration that you need, etc., etc. Take your vitamins, take your supplements. Make sure that you exercise, go to the gym, make sure that you rest, make sure you decompress your nervous system. We all know this stuff. Mentally, make sure you're in a good state. Make sure you're around people that you love. Don't spend time in situations that weaken you or hurt your energy field, or spend your time around people or in situations from which you have to recover later. This, of course, will run contrary to your ability to create success. And then finally, mentally, don't hold ideas and beliefs that run counter to the creation of your success. Manage your state. Create a state where, as long as you're in that state, you will create success. This is what I'm beginning to notice. It's that success, it comes from your state. Like especially over the last few months, there is a very particular state of success that I know and that I recognize, and my clients know and my clients recognize too. It's like, remember your ability to create success. Remember that it's something that you can do. You can do it deliberately, on purpose. You have creatorship and power in your situation, in your life. Just remember what it feels like. You have to get, it's sort of like a pocket that you get into. It's sort of a zone that you get into when you know that everything is working out. And then once you're in that zone, then this stuff that I was mentioning earlier about surrender has much more meaning and much more power and works much more in your benefit. So, to manage your state, see, a lot of people that I speak to would resist this because it sounds like false positive thinking, where we say, just think positive and feel good and make sure that you're emotionally up and you'll create good results. And then you or others may argue, well, that's not very authentic. I want to show up how I actually feel. And of course, it's important to show up how you actually feel. But then if that's all you're doing, then that's a victimed state. That's a determined state. You are allowing yourself to be determined by what happens to you. You are allowing your state to be a product of what happens to you and what people do to you and what life has done to you and the conditions that have been put in place. On some level, you need to decide what your state is. And even if you can't shift into that state reliably over time and maintain it, it becomes something that you practice over days and get good at. You train yourself on it, and then you're able to hold it. And then through holding that state, then the long-term benefits come to you. This is the importance. Thus is the importance of managing your state so that your state will create success for you. Make no mistake, success is created by your mentality, by your emotionality, by your physicality, by your intention. Success is an emergent quality. I spoke about this in another video, and this is what I meant when I was talking about it then. Find that video if you're also interested in success as an emergent quality, because we go deeper into it there. Something also to keep in mind when we talk about choosing and maintaining your state is that you need to be, if you consider yourself to be an open-minded person, extend that open-mindedness to the possibility that you can rapidly shift. Extend that open-mindedness to the possibility that you can release unhelpful psychology very rapidly. I say this because a lot of us who do this type of work, especially if we're up in our decades, if we're in our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, then we're looking at psychology that has been hounding us for decades. And then somebody like myself will come along with all of this hubris and say, you can just release it today. There would be a sense of resistance to it. It's like, excuse me, you have no idea who I am and where I've been and where I come from. This has been a problem for so long. I don't think I can just drop it in a second. But see, that's a problem. That's a trap. It's much more preferable to be open to the possibility that old, sabotaging, unhelpful, unnecessary, unrequired psychology can be dropped in a moment. And it's through, in fact, by adopting that openness that it actually can be released. See, the thing is that we tend to grip onto our psychology, and we tend to make it real by gripping onto it. You have to be so careful about this. We tend to be attached to our psychology. Gosh, sometimes I watch these videos that I make for you and I realize that I go really fast. So I'm just going to slow down for a minute and just make sure I've covered all my points here. Yeah, okay. So I have a treat for you. I've written down a list of ideas that I have been holding in my mind and believing, and thus creating, thus manifesting as a result of believing them. So I'm going to list them out to you, and I want you, A, to imagine the results that were created as a result of believing them, and B, see if you can discover any of these ideas in your own psychology as well, because you can rest assured that all of these ideas that I'm going to share with you are false. They are wrong. Here we go. There's about 20 of them. Success is a bad or unworthy goal. Next one, I have no control over my ability to create success. It is improper or profane to create success. It's too showy, ostentatious, insulting to other people who look on, you know. If success comes easily, it's unearned. If success comes easily, it is undeserved. If you are successful, then it means you are advantaged and unduly privileged. You are valuable and relatable when you are poor. You haven't done enough yet. And insert the blank. You know, you haven't done enough yet to deserve wealth. You haven't done enough yet to succeed, etc. You haven't worked hard enough yet. Success can't just be created. You can't just create success. You can't take God's plan into your own hands. And I would include here, you can't take the actualization of your potential and just take it into your own hands. It's beyond you. Success is created by action, not state. Success comes on its own time, on its own terms, in its own way. My success is a pyramid scheme. It's not real. It's only based on people believing me, say. Failure is needed to assist the world in waking up. So if you're one of these people like me who is interested in helping the world awaken to their spirituality and to their own conscious selves, then you need to fail in order to assist people in doing this so that people can relate to you, say. I don't need to do anything. It'll happen on its own. If I try to succeed, I'll get mired in the muck, in the maya. You know, I'll get lost in the dream, lost in the illusion. If I try to succeed, I will lose myself. I'll lose my spirituality. My success is at the expense of your success. So the belief is, if I succeed, you have to fail. Or if I get more, then it means you get less. And then finally, not now, not yet. So all of these, of course, falling under the category of a psychological state that is not conducive to success. Okay, number 3, you will do whatever you think is necessary. And the truth is nothing is necessary, so you have to choose. This is a really brutal principle, especially as it pertains to habit setting. And so what I mean is that nothing is necessary objectively. Nothing's necessary. Like, for example, making money is not necessary. Looking after your child is not necessary. Going to sleep isn't necessary. Eating isn't necessary. Breathing isn't necessary. Surviving isn't necessary. Nothing is necessary. And it's just the truth. If you think any of these things are necessary, then you will behave accordingly. If you feel like it's necessary to survive, then you will. If it's necessary to look after your children, then you will. So this idea of necessity is just a subjective one. And you're already using it, but most likely you're using it indeliberately. And so the invitation is to use it deliberately. So let's say you wish to change one of your habits. You want to drink less alcohol or smoke fewer cigarettes or get up earlier or take cold plunges. The rule here is that you won't do it unless you believe it's necessary. So our discussion is about how to make it necessary. This applies also beyond habits too. It applies to success, any form of success that you wish to create, any level of wealth you wish to generate. If you feel like it's necessary, like you must become a millionaire in order for everything to be as it should be, then you will. Then that's what you will do, precisely because you have found it to be necessary. So the way to do it then is to make statements about necessity. So think of a change you want to make. It doesn't matter what. Look at that change and go, this change is necessary. State that it's necessary. Do it with your authority, and do it with the knowing that we established just a minute ago that nothing is necessary, because you're going to have a hard time believing yourself. You'll go, yeah, it's easier said than done. But the thing is that like all of this is just lines drawn in the sand. And after all, who is the master of your psychology? Who's the boss of your psychology? Who's the boss of your life? Who is in charge of what is necessary or not? Is it you, or is it something other than you? If it's you, then make statements with your authority. Make them now. Say out loud, it is necessary to become healthy. It is necessary to get my ideas in order. It is necessary to clean up my house and clean up my room. It's necessary to eat healthy and to cook healthy meals for myself every day. Whatever it is, put it in there. And if it doesn't feel real, if you have a hard time convincing yourself of this, then keep practicing it until it becomes real, because there's nothing written anywhere in you or in the universe that says that you can't do this, that you don't have the authority to dictate the terms like this, right? So anything in you, that any psychology in you that says I can't just, determine that something's necessary, bring your skepticism not to me, bring your skepticism to that, because that's just an idea. It's just an idea. Collapse it out of your system. Release it. It's nonsense. You still with me? We're doing great. Here's number 4. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's true. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's true. Articulate a vision for yourself of your success and visit it daily. Visit it. Move into it. Move into the imagination of it. Feel the emotionality of it. This is the NLP, neuro-linguistic programming approach to things. It's similar also to the manifestation approach. And the idea here is that you will train yourself subconsciously on a deep level, like a very deep level, to move towards whatever reality you are creating, whatever you're envisioning, right? So it's like every day, hone your compass toward it, move toward it. Don't be bothered by the fact that you don't know how you're going to get toward it. We established that in point 1. Just visit it daily, get into it, and enjoy it, and immerse yourself in it, and then let go, and then go about your life. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's true. So what I mean by this is that you're now straddling, as a result of this exercise, 2 different worlds. The old reality that you don't want to be in anymore, and the new reality that you want to move into. And you will find that you have your center of gravity established in the old one. But this too is arbitrary. Of all of the different realities that are available to you, there's not any one single one that's more natural for you than the other. If we were to make that argument, we would say the successful one is more natural to you. It's more the case that whatever is familiar to you, you would say is true for you. In other words, the reality that you are used to, the reality that you've spent the bulk of your time in, you think is real. But it's not. It's just familiar. Do not mistake something that is familiar for being true. Just because you've been in it for 20 years doesn't mean you have to spend 20 years getting out of it. The key here is to see that it's arbitrary. Just choose the one that you're after, and then pick up a casual practice of moving it in that direction. And lastly, number 5, action and state communicate with each other. So I said a minute ago that your reality is created by your state. And it is, of course. But it's state and action, both. Now, when we talk about action, not any action will do. As I sometimes discuss on this channel, it's possible to have action that is bereft of intention, where you just do things like you're just going through the motions, just empty gestures, say. And you'll discover, if you're honest, that you don't even intend for your actions to bear fruit. You're just doing what you think you're supposed to do and nothing changes. That is empty action. As opposed to full, successful, creative, generative action, that comes when you ask yourself a question like, what would I do if I were fearless? Or another question like, what would I do if I were to really do it? If I were to really live? If I knew I were going to die in 30 days, what types of big action would I take? Bold action. That's generative action. That's action that moves the needle. You have to be very honest with yourself. Don't do this like I don't know stuff. Like, you have to be really honest, because you do know. And so then action feeds back into state. It helps you lock in this new state that you're after, which produces better, more intuitive, more powerful action. And then it's a constant feedback between action and state. So you want to make sure that you're attending to both. Do not make the mistake, for the love of God, that it's all that it's only state or it's only action. This would be a huge error, and it will cause an enormous waste of time. If you're only focusing on state, it's helpful, but then nothing really shifts. Nothing, because the creation of your new reality is participatory. So if you're just doing it in your imagination, then ultimately there's drag. Nothing really happens. But the same applies to just action. So there needs to be a communication between the two. Those are the 5 things. What did you think? What did you think? Do you know all this already? Are you applying this? Is there any of this that it was useful for you? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. Hit that like button, please. And if you're interested in the one-on-one work that I offer, check out a link in the description. Check out my free offerings on my website too, including a PDF on self-actualization. Great to talk to you. Catch you on the next one.